Yart, what's good? YouTube, it's your boy, Lil Dort, back again with another video today. We're going to be talking about the top 10 players in the playoffs. Recorded this video like a week ago, but recording this intro like probably a couple days before this puts out. I think Giannis probably got to be a little higher on this list, but hey, we'll get into that a little later on. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. This video was edited by my boy, the GOAT, Lil Agent, free agent on Twitter. Not like that's his at. His at is agent_season. But I meant like free agent because he's suspended right now. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. 300 followers. We're doing a jersey giveaway. All my links in the description. All agents links in the description. And yeah, let's get straight to it. Let's start with the honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1, Jason Tatum. Simply put, dude put a 50 piece in a game. He's just not on the list. Too little sample size. That's a lot of these honorable mentions are like that. Same with like Damian Lillard. Dame's not on the list, even though he had one of the best playoff games of all time. We just couldn't see enough of him, and honestly, everyone knows like how good Dame is. Another player on this list is Ja Morant. Ja Morant started off the playoffs by just going off game 1, and then after that, the Grizzlies ended up losing, giving us a little false hope. But he's on the list. Shout out to him for his first playoff performance. We saw a lot of those guys were in their first playoffs. They kind of showed their ass. And to end the list, I want to end with Kawhi and Jokic. Jokic went off. His team just underperformed, so a lot of his performances didn't seem as special. The Sun series was a boring series. A lot of Jokic's games, like no one really watched in that series. And then Kawhi, injury derailed him. Could be in the finals right now if they didn't get hurt. But yeah, let's get into this straight up list. Let's go. At number 10, I got Joel Embiid. His team honestly underperformed during the playoffs. Obviously, losing to the 5 seed as a 1 seed is pretty embarrassing. But Embiid was the only player on his team to not really have any games where he folded or disappeared. As a Joel fan, it sucked to see them lose. But as a Ben Simmons hater, it was so good seeing Ben Simmons' flaws really show out. And I'm not a hater in that way. I honestly just want to see Ben Simmons on a different team. I love Embiid too much, and I don't think that pairing really works. I'd love to see him like on like an Orlando where he could kind of show out and do his thing. But yeah, I mean, Embiid had a really good playoffs despite losing. At number 9, I got Donovan Mitchell. Seems kind of low, but there's actually a lot of good playoff performances in this playoffs. Donovan Mitchell really went off for the Jazz. Same thing like Embiid, where his team kind of folded at the end, but Donovan Mitchell never really did. It's going to be interesting to see what's going on with him because Wade believes that he's going to be out of there. But Donovan Mitchell just had a couple really good games. When he came back from the injury against Memphis, I think he had 45. He had a game against the Clippers. Game 1, he went off. He just honestly looking like one of the better players in the league. And he honestly is going to be one of those young guys who's always slept on. Like, he just finished as the best player on a 1 seed this year and didn't really get a lot of talk for really anything. But shout out Donovan Mitchell at number 9. At number 8, we got Bucks small forward Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton has been a bucket for the Bucks this playoffs. We've seen him go one-on-one matchups with players like Trae Young, KD. I can't even remember who they played in the first round. But Chris Middleton has been legitimately probably the top scorer on the Bucks bucket-wise. I mean, he has the deepest bag. There's like 6 minutes every game where Chris Middleton just can't miss. And if it's in the first quarter or the fourth quarter, it really ends up deciding if the Bucks are going to win the game or not. When Chris Middleton's on, he's on. He looks like KD McGrady when he's on fire. We saw it at the end of the Hawks series. And yeah, man, I think Chris Middleton has to be on this list if you're talking about playoff players this season. Alright, this is a little weird. I feel like all these players are interchangeable, so I kind of am going to group them together. But at 7, I've got Devin Booker. 6, I've got Chris Paul. And 5, I've got Ayton. I think Ayton at the top just because he's really the center point of their team now. Everything goes through Ayton and feeds out. It's Ayton in the post, and that leads to the mid-range shots that you see from these players. But I mean, all of these guys have had iconic performances. Ayton had the alley-oop over Zubac. Chris Paul obviously had a 40-point closeout game to go to the finals, and Devin Booker had that 40-point triple-double against Paul George and the Clippers. All of these players have had their performances and their big moments in the game for the playoffs, but it's just really preference at that point. Like, who would you put over, that'll be the comment question of the day. Let me know in the comments who do you think's had the best playoff run between Ayton, Booker, and Chris Paul. At number 4, we got Trae Young. Trae Young is a walk-in bucket. I mean, this dude, you could argue he's been the best player. I think these next 4 players you could argue are the best 4 players in the playoffs. But Trae Young really has just been a killer. Trae Young beat the 1 seed Philly off his performances, just iconic series. That series will never be forgotten. Trae Young really was that dude in those series. I think Trae Young at 4 is reasonable. I think you could argue him 3, 2, or 1, but these next dudes pretty legit too. At number 3, I got playoff P, pandemic P, vaccinated P, whatever P you want to call him. Paul George was legit this playoffs. Once Kawhi went down, he really stepped up. I think he had like 18 straight 25-plus point games. He went down 0-2, I believe, in every series, and every series it looked like the Clippers had a fight. I mean, this Clippers team really was a bunch of dogs, and if Kawhi leaves next season, they really shouldn't be too worried. They could just pick up someone new in the free agency and kind of move, but Paul George really was a walking bucket. He's also the dude who would guard the other team's best player, and like that's just so hard to do, to put up 25 points and have to guard players like Devin Booker, Luka, Donovan Mitchell. But yeah, Paul George at 3, let's go. At number 2, I got Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis really has been hooping this playoffs. He's a walking bucket. He kind of does everything on the offensive and defensive floor. The only thing with him is he doesn't have as many moments as Paul George and all these other guys because he's not like a closer or anything like that. But Giannis has just been solid all around. Not much to say about the 2-time MVP. Giannis really could do it all defensively, offensively. The only thing I have to say is I wish he guarded KD in that series. It was disappointing seeing PJ Tucker on him. Oh, you have a defensive player of the year on your team. That's a Bud thing. That's not a Giannis thing. Screw Budenholzer. Let's go to number 1. And at number 1, we got the man, the myth, the Thunder legend, Kevin Durant. I'm usually a guy who's about winning, and that's how you win this like MVP type of thing. But really, this doesn't mean anything. I mean, KD's not going to hang this plaque on his wall. So I got KD right here. Giannis isn't going to be mad that he didn't win. KD probably was the best player this playoff. I mean, we're talking about 45-point triple-doubles, spin threes. KD was ridiculous this playoffs. I mean, the highlights show it, man. I mean, look up Kevin Durant playoff highlights versus Milwaukee Bucks. This dude was unstoppable, arguably one of the best playoff series of all time. KD just was a hooper in there, unstoppable. Bro, like I cannot believe this dude hit a spin 3 to go to overtime against a team that's in the finals now. Like, come on, bro. If KD's not your MVP of the playoffs, then you're tripping. Hitting your bitch, make her come right. He talking shit, see the sunlight. He try to run up, he see this. I got too many hoes up on my life for me to cover bitch of that bitch in her. I could've really gave this to the whole world, but she fucked it up with that bitch in it. Hop in the truck, cause this bitch is a push time. I'm sipping lean with your bitch sipping white. Hard for the ground, but you pussy, you not hard. Fucking your thoughts, smoking dope, I'm a roll up a what made me roll a number. If that bitch enough fun, I'ma get a number. I'ma cheat on this hoe cause I don't care. On my 6 body up, I can't use no rubber.